Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Coach handbags, and I'm going to be doing a comparison between vintage Coach, particularly this vintage bag right here, and brand new Coach, which is this Kay Crossbody right here. So many of you know that Coach has been around for a long time. I believe they were established in 1941. And there is a whole aftermarket, not aftermarket really, but like secondhand, pre-owned market for beautiful vintage Coach bags. So Coach has undergone a lot of changes over the years, but primarily when they began, they created these bags that were made out of this beautiful leather. And if you watch my channel at all, you probably remember that I found this bag in my mother's closet when I was helping clean out her house. And I brought it home, restored it a little bit at home. I do have a video on that, and I will link it if you're interested to see how I cleaned up this bag. And basically, I have been loving this bag ever since I found it. So I did a little research, discovered that this is the Ranch bag, and based on some stories and some memories, we believe that this bag dates back to somewhere around 1992 or so, give or take a few years. So I'm going to say that this bag is 30 years old, whereas this bag right here is brand new. I bought it in April, and it is the Kay Crossbody bag. So this is a brand new bag, and I'm just going to be doing a comparison between the materials and the craftsmanship, etc. So I'll begin with my Ranch bag. As you can see, this leather right here, this is in the British tan color. It's very popular. It was a very popular color at the time. And this leather is very thick, and it is a glove tanned cowhide leather. So it's going to have this soft feel, smooth feel on it right here. No texturing or anything like that on this. And then if you flip it over on the opposite side, you can see that there is suede. So one side is going to be smooth, the other side is going to be suede. And then you're going to see that there's going to be a hem, as if you turn the leather over and stitched it down. So that is typical of any vintage Coach bag. They do not have any fabric linings inside of these bags. It's all going to be this suede right here. So this particular bag has sort of this added on pocket right here, and it has a big open interior with another zipper pocket right here. And the front of the pocket, I don't know if you can see, is the smooth leather. It has a pocket in the back, which is just a slide pocket, and it has a long adjustable strap right here. And you can see it has a little hang tag as well. So those are the features of this bag. And it is a very soft, kind of squishy leather, so you can see me bending the bag right here, and you can see how nice and soft it is. Now, as far as the newer bags go, this bag right here is also genuine leather, but it is a completely different kind of leather. So it is no longer that glove tanned cowhide, where the cowhide is going to show a lot of scratches and stains, and usually that's part of the patina and the charm of a vintage bag. You're not really going to be worried about those kind of things. But this bag right here is made out of a leather that is much thinner. It has been textured, so it has sort of a pebbling effect to it, and you can feel it just by the weight of the bag that it is a much lighter leather. It also has some sort of a coating on it too to protect it. So a very durable leather. You can't really scratch this, and there's not really going to be any marks or stains that show too easily on this, especially if you protect it. But a different feel completely. Even the look of them, now granted these are two different style bags, but this you can see looks a little bit more boho, a little more understated, whereas this one with all the bling on it looks a little more elegant. Okay, I did weigh the bags, and I know they are not at all the same size, but they do have a very similar capacity because this one has a big open space. And so I just did a weight comparison. This one came in at just under 2 pounds, so it was 31.25 ounces, and 2 pounds is pretty heavy for a bag, but this leather is really thick and really well made. Whereas this bag right here, it is not half the size of the Ranch bag, but it weighed half as much. It was just over 1 pound. It was 16.75 ounces. So half the weight of this one. If you're someone who can't handle heavy bags, then a vintage Coach in this size at least may not be the way to go for you, because the leather in the older bags was very thick and very heavy, and you know, it's just a particular type of leather. It almost reminds me, in fact, it probably is just the same kind of leather that they would use on a saddle. If you've ever saddled a horse, you know what I'm talking about. So that is one main difference between these two bags. Another thing to talk about, of course, is the hardware. So the vintage bags are always going to have brass hardware. This is genuine brass hardware. When I did my restoration, I just got a little toothbrush and I scrubbed it off a little bit. So the brass, of course, will patina a little bit. You could, if you wanted to, get Brasso or something like that to shine it up. But honestly, I prefer to have a little bit of the patina on it. I feel like the shiny brass might look a little strange. And I was also a little worried about getting the leather damaged if I put the Brasso on there. So what little hardware there is on this bag, there's some little rings right there. The little tag has a little brass chain. There's the buckle on the strap. And then there's this famous turn lock right here. So the turn lock is kind of iconic to some of these Coach bags, and I shined it up, like I said, and I think it looks really nice. So the one thing about brass, it's thick, it's heavy, and it is going to tarnish a little bit. Now the newer bag, this one here, also has a turn lock, but it looks a little bit different. This one has sort of a flat surface to it, whereas this one has sort of a rounded surface to it, but it's essentially the same shape. However, the hardware on this new bag is not brass. It is some sort of a plated metal. Now that said, it is very beautiful. So I've looked it over carefully, and the chain that the strap comes on is really well made, and the clip works very nicely. The rings on the top are embossed with the word Coach on either side, and even the rivets have Coach on them as well. So even though they are not brass, they still are beautifully made, and I don't feel any rough edges. I've looked at them, like I said, pretty carefully, and I don't think that they're going to scratch that easily. Now the bag is brand new, so I can't really talk about longevity and how it's going to last over time, over months or years, but I can say that my initial impression of the hardware on this bag is that it's really very nicely made. The hang tag on this newer bag is actually metal, and it says Coach on it. It does have the cute little link right there to hold it on, whereas the hang tag I've already mentioned on this bag, where'd it go? Oh, it's somewhere here, isn't it? Yep, there it is. Okay. The hang tag is made out of leather. It's just a leather tab right here, and it is attached with the little brass loop right there. So that's another difference between these two bags. Okay, third thing to talk about is the origin. This bag is handmade, or was handmade, in the United States. When Coach first started, they were made in New York, and the badges inside of the bags would tell you that. And then I believe they opened other factories, and so they, instead of saying made in New York, they were made in the United States, and all handmade, to the best of my knowledge. Now, when you take a look at the newer bags, they are no longer made in the United States. This one, however, is listed as hand assembled in Vietnam. Okay, and I got that information from the literature that came with the bag, and I will just open it up right there. Okay, so they give you this little tab here. It tells you a little bit of the story. It also says they're still hand assembled, and this one was made in Vietnam, and I know that because there's a tag inside the bag right here, and if you read it, it says made in Vietnam. So that's another difference as far as the location of the manufacturing. I'm not sure if there's any difference in manufacturing between the word made and the word assembled. If there is, let me know, but I know that this is handmade and this one was hand assembled. If that makes any difference at all, I'm really not sure. I do want to talk about the lining of the new one. So because the leather is a little bit different, it's a little bit thinner, you can see that the interior of this bag is coated with a microfiber. So this is a man-made fabric right here. Really very nice though. It feels really nice to the hand. It does feel a little bit suede-like, and the top of the flap is also that fabric right there. Whereas I already mentioned that this one right here is just going to be pure suede inside. We're not going to find any linings of fabric of any kind inside your vintage bags. Okay. These vintage bags, by the way, can easily be cleaned. You can use saddle soap, or you can do what I did, which is put it in a bath of Dawn dish detergent and let it soak, and you can clean it up that way as well. So they really are very durable. This bag in particular, I guess it wasn't used that much, and to be honest with you, I don't think my mother really did use it very much, but it certainly is in really good shape for its age, and I definitely can see the quality in this bag. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the stitching. I went ahead and took some pictures of these bags up close, and I did examine the stitching quite carefully through magnifying glass. And you can see that the stitching on this bag is the same color as the leather itself. Although, if you look closely, you might say there might have been a little bit of fading here and there. It could be the leather that faded, or it could be the thread that faded. But either way, the thread is nice and thick, and the stitches are very, very even. So I'm going to be putting up a photograph of an area of the bag where there's some seaming, and you can see that the stitches are nice and even. There's no loose threads, there's no fraying. So over the course of 30 years, the thread has really stood up very well on this bag. So the style of this bag is really pretty simple. There's not, a lot of seams, there's not a lot of hardware, there's not a lot of details. Whereas this one is a little bit more elaborate. It's just the style of the bag. And it also might be the designs that Coach is now getting into. I do know that they're going back to some of their vintage styles and bringing them back. And Coach is kind of having a moment right now, and I think that's partially because they're bringing back some beautiful styles that they used to have. But we'll talk about the stitching now. So the stitching on this bag is basically the equivalent of this bag too, and I was really impressed when I compared them side by side. I took a picture of this bag as well with the stitching in an area where there's a lot of seaming and so forth, and you can see that the stitches are really nice and even. The thread is the same color as the leather. The thread is not fraying. It is not, there's no loose ends or anything like that, so I was very, very impressed with the stitch quality of the newer bag as compared to the older bag too. So that is another positive for the newer bags. Even looking at the bottom of this bag here, it's very, very straight and flat. There's no buckling or seaming, so you could really see the quality in this little handbag here. This has a lot more structure to it. It's probably trickier to make, I'm guessing, than this one was. But overall, I have to say that the stitching comparison, they came out very, very equivalent. Next, I want to talk about the badge. So if you're familiar with Coach, you probably know that every Coach has a badge on it, and that was something that started way back in the day. So I did stick my camera in here to try to get a picture of it. I don't know how legible it's going to be, but you should be able to see, at least from here, that the badge on this bag is actually stamped right into it. So the front of this pocket here is the smooth leather that you're going to find on the exterior of the bag, and what they did was just stamp the badge right into the leather right there. So every Coach bag is going to have a badge on it. The older bags are going to say something very specific, which I'll read to you in a moment. And they also have a number on them. So I know that this bag is pre-1994 because the number on it doesn't include a model number. It only has a series of numbers that I guess we could take as some sort of a serial number that the company used. But the model number is not indicated on this, and that's why I had to do a little research to find out what kind of bag it was based on some of the details and pictures that I saw. I know it's called the Ranch bag. Now the badge on this bag is in there, but you can see that it's completely different because the interior of this bag is this cloth, and they have taken a badge out of leather, same kind of leather as this, and they have sewn it right onto the lining of the bag. So that's going to be another difference. Rather than just stamping it into the bag, they've actually sewn it on because the interior of this bag is a fabric. Okay, and this one has a number on it. So, okay, I'm going to have to put my glasses on so I can read you the old text. This one says, this is a Coach bag. The story patch, they call it, is our badge of authenticity. Few people may see, it's hard to read, it, but it will always be a reminder of our commitment to quality and craftsmanship. Okay, that was a hard thing to see, that the writing on this badge is much smaller. And then it has a really long number, number B2081-F76712. Okay, so that's what the badge says right here. So in my pictures, I don't know if they're going to be legible or not. All right, on the other hand, we have the badge right here. This is the old one, and this is what they used to say. This is a Coach bag. It is made out of completely natural, glove-tanned cowhide. The scars, scratches, veins, and wrinkles are natural markings characteristic of full-grain leathers made in the United States. So that would be the old vintage tag that you would be looking for. And this one that I just read you, of course, is completely different. It doesn't say anything about the materials. It just is a reminder of the craftsmanship of your Coach bags. So that is pretty much it for all the different details, the comparison of the main points of these two bags. Now, as far as which one is better, it's really just a matter of preference. Some people do love the look of the vintage, and I have to say that I adore the look of the vintage ones too. I think they add an effortless ease to your wardrobe. It makes you look like you're stylish, but you're not trying too hard. And I really love the smell of it. I mean, even though it's 30 years old, you can still smell the leather. It's just beautifully made. And does that mean that I don't like this one? Not at all. In fact, I am so impressed with the quality of this little bag right here. I have to say, when I was going to do this comparison video, I thought to myself, there's no way that item by item, the vintage one isn't going to beat the new one, but in reality, I think the new one really holds its own. Like I said, the hardware, even though it's not brass, is beautifully made. There's a lot of details. The stitching is beautiful. The leather is very, very nice. The overall style of the bag is just gorgeous, and I really think that Coach is doing a great job with their newer bags. So you should definitely check them out if you kind of let them slide for a little while. I know Coach kind of went out of fashion for a while there, but I can see now why they're coming back pretty strong, and that's because of their styling and their quality. So that is it for my video today. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope it was helpful for you if you're thinking about vintage versus new Coach bags. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. And as always, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm doing a giveaway. You should check that out. I'll try to link it. And that's it. Leave me any comments or questions below. Leave me a thumbs up if you like the video. And I will see you next time. Take care.